Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our panel on athletics and wellness. My name is Ben Rose. I'm a class of '09 graduate of Hamilton, and I'm an associate dean of admission here. I want to say welcome to all of you. And again, thank you for joining us for this panel. Our goal for tonight is to learn a little more about the athletics and wellness opportunities at Hamilton. We're going to talk about our wellness program, varsity athletics, club and intramural sports, and our athletic and fitness facilities on campus. But really, I am not the star of this show. I'm just helping to manage the panel and ask the questions. So I'm going to start by turning it over to our panelists to introduce themselves. So if you could say for staff, name, your job on campus, your favorite part of working in Hamilton, and for students, your name, your class year, hometown, major, minor, if you have it, and what you're involved in on campus. So John, let's start with you.
Thank you, Ben. Good evening, everyone. My name is John Hind. I'm Director of Athletics here at the college. I'm class of 1980. I majored in mathematics and economics. My favorite part, probably a no-brainer, but the favorite thing that for me is to go to our games, go to our contests and watch Hamilton student athletes compete.
Awesome, thanks.
Yep.
Oh, go ahead, Steph.
Hi, my name is Stephanie Cowell. I am our Assistant Athletic Director for Fitness and Recreation. I am new to this position this year, but I previously have been here for 11 years working as an athletic trainer in our sports medicine department, so very familiar with Hamilton, now just in a new space. My favorite thing about this campus is just the people. That's why I'm in the position I am. I love interacting with everyone on a daily basis, from faculty and staff to students down the line. So that's my favorite part.
Thanks, Steph. And Patty.
Hello, everybody. I'm Patty Cloyd. I'm the women's lacrosse coach, and I'm a professor in the phys ed department. I'm in my 21st season in coaching lacrosse and teaching at Hamilton. I mostly teach yoga. And one of the things that I love about Hamilton is the fluidity that I enjoy in my job in terms of competitive athletics and also bringing yoga and meditation to our student body and to also my team.
Thank you. And Salah?
Hello, my name is Salah El-Teeb. I'm class of 24 here at Hamilton. I'm originally from Utica, New York. I'm a bio major, and on campus, I'm on the football team as well as the men's track and field team.
Thank you. And Connor.
Hello, everybody. My name is Connor. I'm a senior, class of 2023, originally from Syracuse, New York. I'm majoring in neuroscience, and I'm minoring in creative writing and biology. And I am a member of the cross country and track and field teams.
All right. So again, thank you to all of our panelists. You can see we've got a lot of different perspectives on here. One more person I want to introduce who's participating tonight is my colleague Travis, one of our other deans of admission. He's going to be helping to man the chat and the question and answers. So feel free to put things in the chat, the question and answer, things you'd like the panel to address. Travis might answer some of those, but he's also going to direct some to us to get to later in the night. We're going to start with some questions that we feel we get pretty frequently about athletics and wellness at Hamilton, but we will save some time for those question and answer questions. And if you stick with us, we'll have some fun at the end of the night too with some lightning round questions. So let's get started and move into talking about general health, fitness, and wellness at Hamilton. And how about we start with the big picture? What is the college's philosophy about health, wellness, and kind of fitness?
Sure, Ben, I'll jump in and take that, and then I'll pass off to Steph. But our general philosophy is one of involvement and engagement. We want everyone in our community to be involved in some way, shape, or form with all of our programming. Our programming encompasses all of our intercollegiate athletics, which it runs around typically somewhere around 35% of our students are intercollegiate athletes. Around another 15% to 20% play on club sports. Then there's another 20 to 25% who are involved in our intramural and recreation programming. And honestly, we touch everyone student-wise because of our physical education program, which is mandatory in our overall programming for graduation. So we touch upon everyone through a whole variety of means. We also are very active. We maintain very active programming for our faculty and staff. So ours is very much, we try to foster an environment of engagement, participation, and inclusion. I would pass it to Steph to talk a little bit more about our programs.
Yeah, I would resonate everything that John had already said. I think one of the biggest things that sticks out is that you really have a lot of options here. If you're not part of our collegiate athletics programs and you're not maybe part of our club sports, there's a ton of ways to stay recreationally active and have a lot of programs that you have access to on campus just at a basic recreational level, or working on your own individual health and wellness. Using our fantastic facilities we have, these are options to attend speakers and lectures on various topics relating to health and wellness, and just taking advantage of those options to kind of create your own picture of what your own health and wellness is, and hopefully be able to find your why in that aspect of your life and continue it for your 4 years that you're here.
And Sally and Connor, could you talk a little bit up from the student perspective? What do you think kind of the student attitude is towards health and wellness and engagement with it? We'll start with Connor.
I'd say it's definitely very positive. To echo kind of the sentiment that we've already had, is that it touches really just about everybody on campus, whether you're, actively engaging in it or you're cheering people on. I think it's a big part of, just being a part of being a Hamilton student.
Yeah, I would agree with pretty much everything that Connor said. In terms of like wellness and health from like a student athlete, I'd say that there's a lot of support from not only like coaches and like your professors, there's a lot of support from everyone to make sure that you're staying well and stuff like that.
Great, thank you. Could we get a little more information about what facilities are available on campus to support student health and wellness? Health centers, fitness centers, that kind of stuff?
Sure, I'll jump in there with our fitness specific facilities. So the Blood Fitness Center is a multi-level state-of-the-art facility that we're very lucky to have on campus. We have a whole array of all the cardio equipment you could probably desire, and weight training equipment as well, to keep everyone happy, from a casual lifter all the way to more elite and seasoned folks who are very interested in weight training. In addition to those kind of standard areas, we have some unique spaces in this building. We have a fitness studio that is home to a whole array of group fitness classes that we have on a weekly programming cycle. Anything from spin classes to group yoga to total body aerobics and weight training and interval style type training, Pilates, yoga hybrids, dance fit classes, self-defense, and we're constantly always trying to add more. So that's something unique, that if maybe you're looking for a little bit more direction and don't want to have to take such an individual approach, you can attend these classes and get some exposure, some different activities that maybe you haven't tried before. Another unique thing in this building is we have a 3-story climbing wall. There's a physical education class that's geared towards that climbing wall, but there's also open climb times, and there are a great support staff to help people learn and enjoy that new activity, again, that they may have never had the opportunity to enjoy before. So that's the biggest part of the fitness facility specifics. I don't know if we need to, who would jump in on the health center aspect, John, maybe, or where we want to go from there.
Sure, I'll jump in and take it actually a step further and more broadly. We have a lot of really nice facilities, from synthetic surface baseball field, softball field, multi-purpose field. We have grass fields, we have multi-purpose fields, we have the swimming pool, we have the hockey rink, we have the squash facility. And where I'm going with this is all of our facilities are available for everyone. The field house, the indoor track, the indoor turf building. Our facilities are used a great deal by a lot of people. Obviously, the facilities all have schedules. It would be difficult, for example, in winter time to walk in and expect to be able to jump on the basketball court at 5 o'clock. Most likely one of the two women or men's basketball programs are going to be in the middle of practice. We have the hockey rink is going to be reserved at prime times for the hockey programs. But beyond that, our facilities are open to everyone. So our intramural programs, our recreational activity, our club sports, our varsity programs, all interact and use all of the same facilities. Really important.
I would like to add in there the location of our facilities, and that I think it's unique in terms of just having been to many campuses throughout my career. I think our campus, our athletic facilities, and wellness facilities are all lining one specific quad. So it's really easy to walk to our facilities. They're not like set off behind trees at some obscure part of campus where you have to drive to them. So I think it's a really easy commute for you to get back and forth from the dining hall or your dorm to, jump in and get a workout, quick lift, or whatever it is that you want to do, just because of where our facilities are located.
Another aspect of this is we're in a wonderful outdoor location. So I'm curious if any of you could talk about the ability to use the Adirondacks or the outing club and the role that can play in wellness and fitness.
Yeah, I mean, even just on campus, our proximity to the Adirondack kind of bleeds through to just here in Clinton, New York. I mean, as a cross-country runner, I spend a lot of my time running around outside, and I can speak to the natural beauty. We have these glens, these massive forests, and nice trails on campus to be able to run on, but just in the surrounding area too, it really is like taking advantage of the outdoors. And it's I think, a campus attitude where people want to be outside and people want to enjoy like nice days, that sort of thing.
Yeah,
I
I can jump in more on that. We have a outdoor leadership center on campus, and the individuals that run that facility have not only a passion for that, but it's really, I think, what I learned most this year was the amount of access they provide. So as you said before, we're very close to the Adirondacks. You can be at the doorstep of that in 45 minutes, but the ability to be able to get equipment so easily on campus. You may want to go for a hike on a nice weekend, but I don't have my hiking boots at school, or we want to do something a little bit more extensive. You can get a backpack, you can get boots, you can get hiking poles, you could get a tent, you could get a kayak. I mean, you can pretty much get everything you could need to enjoy the nature we have around us right here on campus for free. And I thought that was a really cool thing that I just most recently learned about this year.
So another topic kind of related to this general attitude towards health fitness is the physical education requirements. So John touched on this earlier. Could we talk a little more about what that requirement's about and what kinds of classes are offered?
Sure. So our main focus with our PE program is lifetime activity. So we teach just about anything that would have to do with lifetime activity: golf, tennis, swimming. We have Patty teaches our yoga program, all of our yoga programming. We have fitness classes, toning classes, strength and conditioning classes. We have added in more recently things like spike ball and bocce ball and frisbee, disc golf. So pretty much, if there's something out there that keeps people active with the potential of keeping them active once they leave the college, we probably offer the course. And quite frankly, if somebody came up with something else that kept people active, we'd find a way to add the course. But yes, our physical education requirement requires every student to take 3 PE classes that are, again, geared toward lifetime activity. And then we have a fitness assessment where everyone is assessed on their level of fitness and has an individual meeting with one of our physical education faculty members to talk about their level of fitness and some thoughts or just some guidance about what areas they might want to work on enhancing if we discover anything through the assessment. And then we currently have a swim requirement, which basically is making sure that everyone knows how to save themselves if they should end up in the water. Patty, I don't know, you're one of our professors. I don't know if you have anything to add to all of that.
Well, pickleball is taking the campus by storm. So that's definitely coming along really well. No, I think it's a wonderful part of our, what we offer in terms of, you can find anything that you enjoy doing, we'll offer it. And you can give us feedback, like John said, if you want something added, somebody in our department will be able to teach it or figure it out. So we can keep everybody having fun while they're staying active and taking care of themselves. It's really about, self-care and, the mental health piece of being outside and staying active and just engaging with others in something different than what you do in the classroom, just to give yourself a break or use a different part of your brain and body to help yourself through the semester. So it's a wonderful piece of our curriculum.
Sala and Connor, could you talk a little about the classes you took?
Yeah, so I took a health and wellness seminar class. So we were in a classroom for about 2 hours, just talking about healthy life practices, going over the stuff that we've done for the week. That was really great because it was a little less traditional from kind of the stuff that we've been talking about. But I've also taken like a jogging class, which seems kind of like it's cheating, especially for a cross country runner. But it was nice. I was active first thing in the morning, and I was able to get an extra run in every day, and it was nice. Or the days that I had it, it was really great getting to meet a different member of the coaching staff who wasn't my coach, and be able to kind of reach out and network and do that sort of thing.
Yeah, so I've never taken like a PE course here because I fulfilled my PE requirement during like a summer program that I was in. But I walk around campus and I see a whole bunch of like cool, like fun classes that I've seen. Like I've seen pickleball in the parking lot once. I see like spike ball. Those things make me like interested in that. I sometimes like talk to the students and say like, hey, how do you play this? And something cool and interesting to learn.
You heard it here first, pickleball, right? It's all the rage. Everyone loves it. So,
Ben, if I could just jump in to dovetail off of what Connor said.
Mhm.
I mean, that's a perfect example where you're going to be here at Hamilton, in our community, and you may have never run more than a half mile in your life. And, you're going to be in a jogging class with someone like Connor who can really talk to you, help you out. So you're right alongside an intercollegiate athlete who runs cross country right in that same jogging class. So, and again, it's all in an environment that doesn't create any kind of tension or stress. It's just about the ground level of fitness and activity to try to hook you into doing something for the rest of your life.
And as sort of a follow-up question, maybe Steph, you could jump in on this one. Are there other classes and other services offered beyond the PE classes that students can take advantage of?
So as I breezed over when talking about the fitness facility, so one of the big things to get involved with is the group wellness classes. So throughout the course of the week, Monday to Friday, there's going to be at least one or two options each day, to anything from, like I said, spinning to yoga to circuit style classes with groups. And the great thing about these is, they're open to everybody. You can go to as many as you want per week. And all the instructors are able to scale each class to a variety of levels. So all levels are welcome. So I think it's a very welcoming and inclusive environment in those regards. And again, we're always open to feedback for if there's something else too, that if a group of students is interested in, they want to spearhead a new initiative or a new style of training, they can start as a student group. And then if we see there's an interest on campus, we can try and find a way to add that class to our rotation. So I'm always on the hunt for the next thing to offer. And we've got a pretty busy schedule right now, and we're continuing to add classes through the course of this fall to get us maybe up to 3 options per week, so everyone can have some different choices.
Great. So hopefully that gave you a pretty good sense of kind of health and wellness in general at Hamilton. So let's transition talking about varsity athletics. And first question, John, let's start here. How are the seasons going this fall?
Seasons are going well. We're often, no pun intended, but we're often running. Our cross country teams just have competed a few times and have done very well at the meets they've been at. Soccer programs, volleyball program, football will be home for the first time this coming weekend during fall coming. Yeah, a lot of activity and a lot of positive energy and a lot of enthusiasm. So going well.
And for our students, Sala and Connor, could you talk a little bit about what it's like to be a varsity athlete at Hamilton? How do you find balance with your schoolwork and maybe being able to be involved in other things?
Yeah. Yeah, so for me, I just kind of like set everything on like a pretty like strict schedule. Um, you're gonna have, but I also learned that like to keep that strict schedule, you have to also schedule time for yourself. So like scheduling meals, scheduling free time. And then in terms of like balancing work, you know, it's not impossible to do, it's gonna be kind of tough, but and then also your professors are very understanding. So if you have like a class you have to miss for a game that you're traveling, you can speak with them ahead of time. They'll give you extensions, things like that. But also as like an athlete, you have to, you can't take advantage of that. You have to be accountable and stay ahead on your work. Make sure that you can enjoy playing your sport while also staying on top of your work.
Yeah, I mean, I'll echo that. I think a big thing that our coach always says is just staying ahead of stuff, making sure that you're being accountable. As Salah said, I do a lot of different things outside of practice as well, which I think it demonstrates, that you're able to do different things, as you're not just an athlete, that type of thing. I know I work in admissions as well, and then I do a couple of other extracurriculars, but the big thing is balance and time management, and that kind of just comes with experience and being able to know yourself and doing your work ahead of time, I guess is the biggest way to kind of fit in. But no, it's definitely challenging but rewarding. Yeah.
Mhm.
Patty, can you jump in and talk about how much attention we pay as a faculty in our department with exactly that we're constantly have that balance in mind?
Yeah, and I was going to say that, having coached here for as long as I have, if I wanted to just coach lacrosse and talk about lacrosse all of the time, I wouldn't choose to coach at Hamilton. I coach at Hamilton because I get to be around incredible human beings who have so many interests and who are high achieving students, but also want to really be great citizens in our world and learn how to do that by getting involved in the many things on campus. So I think as a department, one of the things that we talk about is respecting the integrity of our student athletes' time. And obviously they respect the integrity of our time as well. So what I mean by that is Hamilton has an academic day of 8 to 4. So we don't have any scheduled team activity during those hours because those are set for academics. And so practices are normally, 4:15 to 6:30. Sometimes, they run at odd hours in terms of like facility, in terms of all of that, but we're all really organized and all of the coaches work really well together to create a calendar, because at the end of the day, if we aren't organized and we don't communicate what we're asking of our student athletes well in advance so that they can manage their time and schedule their lives, as the students have indicated right here, that's doing a disservice to them, and it just adds more stress into their lives, right? So just speaking from how we manage our team, we have a Google Calendar. My team knows exactly when they're coming and going and what field we're on and what facility we're in and when our days off are. And, we adhere to those times. So if we say practice is ending at 6:30, we end at 6:30, because chances are they probably have a TA session or a physics lab group that they need to get to meet with at 7. So, we just respecting the integrity of their time is really key, and to help them do all of the things that they're really passionate about. One of them is their sport, but they have probably 6 other things that they're really passionate about, and we have to respect that.
Right. Kind of a similar question. Could we get some information about what the dynamic is like between the varsity athletes and non-athletes on campus? Is there a lot of school spirit? Are there a lot of connections made there? Can you talk about that a little bit?
I mean, I'll chime in if you want. I mean,
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I see a lot of fluidity between our student athlete body and the students. I think that there's a lot of camaraderie. I think the way in which Hamilton brings our first years to campus is a great way for them to meet a broad range of people. And I see a lot of, with my team specifically, like some of their friends are mutual to the team and some of them aren't, and all of that is okay. So it's like, someone's going to be really good friends with their bio lab friends, or, live with somebody they met on their orientation trip for 4 years, like it's just the way that it is. So I think that it's wonderful that it's a very inclusive community, and there's an embracing culture about how we help our first years come to campus and feel welcomed. And that just carries on throughout all 4 years, And I think that our athletic department and the sports events that are going on is a great way for people to come together and enjoy watching their friends compete, whether they're on another team or not.
Connor and Salah, could you talk a little bit about that in your own experience?
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned it a little bit earlier, that I'm on a bunch of different extracurriculars. And I think, I do those extracurriculars because I care about other things besides running, and I'm interested in different things. And that's opened a lot of doorways to meet really cool people. My best friends may be my teammates, but we got a lot of other friends here at Hamilton and a lot of other people that I've met along the way. And maybe I'm just speaking for myself, but I think that that's a big part about like Hamilton's community is meeting different people who are interested in different things. And you kind of create this web of meeting different people. And because of that, I'd say it's all very connected. And I'd say we do have a lot of school spirit, because I know my friends, even the ones that aren't on the team, will love to come out to the cross country course and cheer us on, even if it's not the most interesting spectator sport. So I'm very thankful for them to come out. And yeah, it's awesome having that. So.
Yeah, pretty much said everything. But another thing that I would add is that there's people that I've met that like that know nothing about like football or track and field, but when you meet them, you'll just have like the instant connection because they're just a good person in general. I've lived with someone who would never play a sport in their life. He was like one of my favorite friends on campus. Yeah, so being an athlete, you're definitely going to meet a lot of people who aren't athletes who are very supportive of you, even if they don't understand, like they don't know your sport.
Thank you.
And if I could jump in as an alum who
Mhm.
was an intercollegiate athlete here in the late 70s, I was just at an event with around 40 alums and very close friends to this day, 42 years later after graduating. And, I was thinking about this at that event. Of that event that had over 40 people, there was only probably around 10 of us who had been athletes here, and only 2 people who were I played football and lacrosse, and there were only 2 teammates who were even on those teams. Point being, we have, for years and years, we have prided ourselves on being very representative. That, everyone on this call has touched on it, that people here are high achievers who have a lot of interest in a lot of things. And it cuts across your intercollegiate team. Certainly your passion for your sport is important, and the camaraderie within your team is important, but you're going to make a lot of other lifetime friends here who quite frankly aren't on your teams. And that's a good thing. That's a very good thing.
So follow-up question about getting on the teams. Does Hamilton allow for walk-ons, and about how many does that end up being?
Yeah, I'll touch on that, and then Patty can talk about it from her perspective as being one of our head coaches. But all of our teams will certainly allow for a tryout for somebody who ends up coming to Hamilton and has interest in their team. It's more difficult to make some programs than others, and typically that just boils down to specifically to numbers. That it's keeping a program at a manageable number for being able to work with and create relationships with and work on developing the individuals that are on your team. But certainly we have some programs where the tryouts are pretty difficult, and it's hard to make the team as a walk-on, but we certainly welcome walk-ons. And then we have several programs where it'd be uncommon to not have walk-ons in any given year on that program. But everyone certainly has the opportunity. And then we even work to guide kids. If they don't make a team, we try to guide them to other things where there are other intercollegiate programs where they may find a spot on a roster. And if that's not of interest, we certainly have a wide range of club sports and intramural programs. Patty, I'll turn it to you as an actual coach who works with kids who try to walk on.
Yeah, I've had a number of kids walk on our team and be successful, and great kids that I didn't know anything about in the recruiting process. My one piece of advice though is to, speak up, communicate with the coach well in advance if it's something that you want to do. You might go through your first year at Hamilton and then decide your sophomore fall that you want to try out for a soccer team, let's say. Okay, well, give yourself a chance, just like the rest of the team, to prepare for that tryout. So communicate with the coach and, as soon as you can. Maybe you can start lifting in the spring, or maybe you can get the summer workout program and be ready to go come August when they come to campus to start their season. So, we have all of the sports are guided by the NESCAC guidelines. So we have a short window of time that we can offer the tryout, but you also have time on your own to prepare for it. Okay. And I would say that, again, the culture of our athletic department is very welcoming and very embracing. So, it's not that you would be singled out as a walk-on kind of kid. For example, we are a spring sport, and if I hear of a student in the fall or even the summer before she arrives that she wants to try out for our team, I immediately include her in our email chain, and they get going with our team and doing whatever the team is doing in the fall and the winter to prepare for our season in the spring. So, and sometimes it's hard, you do all of that preparation and you still might not make the team, but still my advice is to give yourself the best opportunity to make the team.
Great, thank you. Question for you, John. Could you speak a little bit about the way varsity athletic teams are involved in issues relating to diversity, equity, and inclusion at Hamilton and in the NESCAC conference as a whole?
Sure, absolutely. So we have done some programming that coincides with NESCAC on a broader scale, programming for our faculty and staff and for our students. Some programming that has been initiated more on a conference level across all 11 schools. Beyond that, we've also said it's not uncommon to find programming on any given team, whether it's having group discussions about those various dynamics involving DEI, whether it's we have another team who's done a book club and has read books and then has discussions. And actually, a few of the books they've read have been authored by Hamilton alums. We also have our COSAC, our Coalition of Student Athletes of Color. And that group was formed 3 or 4 years ago now by then Associate Athletic Director Miriam Merrill. And that program continues to do good things on our campus. And Deidre Pearson, our current Associate Director of Athletics, she has just formed a DEI, she calls it the DEI team, and that has membership across all 29 of our intercollegiate programs. D is our AIDED, that's our athletic diversity and inclusion designee to the NCAA. And so she is the conduit between our coaches and student athletes and the various programs that are being spun out by the NCAA. So she's putting this team together to help facilitate the movement of the different ideas and programs.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So we talked earlier about some of the facilities that are available for students, but what about other resources available to athletes? Trainers, equipment, even academic resources. What resources can athletes draw upon?
Well, I'll jump in, I'll give a short answer and then certainly anyone else can jump in. But we pride ourselves on representativeness. So we don't create a lot of overlap or duplicity with respect to things that are accessible. So pretty much everything that's accessible to all of our Hamilton students are certainly there and accessible to all of our student athletes. I guess the things that would be a little bit different would be, as Steph said, Steph worked for a decade down in our athletic training room, and they're very active in not just being reactive to injury, but also very proactive with athletes. And they work in unison with our strength and conditioning program, with our strength and conditioning coaches, to work on building, bigger, faster, stronger athletes, who hopefully then helps with the preventative measures to injury, but then also work on the facilitating of rehab for athletes who have been injured. So but again, the rest of we certainly have the Johnson Center for for the medical center and the counseling center. All of our student athletes have every bit of access to all of that any other student would have. We have access to the Levitt Center and the Qualitative Center and the Writing Center. And so I would say this is absolutely a community where if you want support or help, you can find it, and we can point you in the right direction.
I can chime in a little bit more on the athletic training sports med perspective, as John said, having been there for a while. I may be biased in my perception, but I think it's accurate to say that we have one of the best facilities that you'll see amongst Division III schools, let alone in NESCAC. Size-wise, equipment-wise, and the quality of the support staff you have. We really prided ourselves on being the best kind of one-stop shop that we could for our student body, but particularly our varsity athletes. Again, from injury prevention and that strong coordination with the strength conditioning staff we have here. At the end of every season, we would sit down and look at the data and make data informed decisions. So, okay, what injury trends are we noticing? What can we add or subtract to our structured strength conditioning programs to address these needs and produce better outcomes, both on the field and also from an injury perspective? So I think that's something that works really well for us. And we think we've seen the results of that. And injury trends that we saw that were high are now much lower than they were. So we have a really great working relationship with that. And again, just the facility and the amount of resources you have access to. Yes, you can have a good practitioner, but it helps to have maybe a few extra bells and whistles. So I think overall, we've got a great total package for sports medicine here at Hamilton.
And I know, John, you alluded to the academic resources available to our student athletes are the same resources that are available to our student body as a whole and are really extensive. I don't know if either of our students, Sala or Connor, could talk a little bit about academic resources that athletes and any student at Hamilton can access.
Yeah, I think the big ones are our oral communications and writing centers, as well as our qualitative and symbolic qualitative and symbolic reasoning center. It is a mouthful, but they're all available to all different students here at Hamilton. They help you with your respective work, whether it be an oral project, your math homework, or maybe you're writing an essay. I've used it a ton. If I've got an essay coming up, I'll bring it there. But also just like stuff like resume work, there's resources really for that too. And it's nice because, like I said, it's available to all students, and not just athletes.
Another big resource that I would say personally for me is like your peers. There isn't really anyone that I've met on campus that isn't willing to like help me with anything, whether it has to do with like a class or like something socially. Yeah.
Thank you. Another common question, this one comes up all the time for us in admissions, is it possible to study abroad as a varsity athlete?
Absolutely. It's highly encouraged. And I often find out if one of my players isn't going, I ask why, and if I can go for them. I have a lot of kids abroad right now. I think it's a wonderful experience, hands down.
Obviously for Ben, it becomes, it's a little bit more, for a sport like women's lacrosse, where it's very defined and it is in one semester. That's a little bit easier to maneuver. I would agree with Patty. We encourage across our whole department, complete academic engagement, which is inclusive of study abroad program. It becomes a little bit more difficult for some athletes who cut across both semesters, a hockey player, a basketball player, but it's still, even saying that, it doesn't mean it doesn't happen. We have student athletes across all of our teams study abroad. Sala, I know you hang around to run track and football, so you're kind of involved in your sports both seasons, but I'm sure you have several friends from football who have studied abroad in the springtime. So yeah, very common for us.
Yeah, and I would say, sometimes I have a two-sport athlete who doesn't go abroad in a traditional fall or spring semester. So they have found, and Hamilton has helped them, they have found some incredible summer programs that they've enjoyed, even if it's just for 4 or 5 weeks. So.
So switching gears a little bit, John, you mentioned intramural and club sports earlier when you were talking about kind of the overall athletic scene at Hamilton. Could you talk a little more about what the difference is between club and intramural and kind of how those work at Hamilton? What the time commitment?
Sure. So, the highest level of sport we have obviously are our intercollegiate programs. After our intercollegiate programs, we currently have, I think, and Steph, you can correct me, certainly if I'm wrong, but I think we have 17 different club sports. The big difference is club sport is where you're on a team. You really don't want to commit to the amount of time and dedication it takes to be an intercollegiate athlete, but you still want the camaraderie of being on a team, and you still have that zest, if you will, to compete against other institutions. That's what our club programming is really for. Intramural programming is where you still want to really be involved in that sport, but you're content to just do it in the evenings, at night, on weekends, against other peers here at the school. So intercollegiate programming is one level. Club sports is where you still are on a team, still competing against other institutions, but without the level of commitment. And then intramurals are competing in sport among your classmates and peers. Steph, I would let you add to the intramural programming and the club sport programming if you have more to add.
I don't have anything particular too much to add. I think you hit all the nails on the head. And the biggest thing for people to remember with intramurals is, again, it's very flexible. It's not a super big time commitment, such as with club sports. But even with club sports, as one who's doing their schedules and allocating facilities for practices and training, on average, most groups will only practice, 2 to 3 times a week, just to give you an idea of kind of a little bit lower level of commitment. And then most intramural leagues and groups, they may only compete 1 night per week, or maybe 1 weeknight and 1 weekend, or you have the option to participate in more than one. We try and space them out so that 2 aren't going on at the same time, to just give you that many more opportunities.
I have learned, Ben, that there is a lot of pride on those intramural teams, though. They make sure that we still have to order the intramural championship T-shirts, because there's a lot of pride and swag when you're walking around with that intramural championship shirt from basketball or soccer or the other intramural sports.
Speaking of, do we have a sense of what are some of the most popular intramural and club sports on campus? What are people getting involved in most?
Sheer numbers. The ultimate frisbee squad, which is co-ed, is usually pretty large. The soccer club programs tend to have decent numbers. Rugby has kind of fluctuated over the years. I think all in all, they usually always have a pretty good size regardless of the clubs. And I think, they really do encourage people to participate that are new to it, or maybe they've never tried it. I mean, for example, in September, there was a huge student activities and clubs fair on campus. And there was probably over 80 groups represented there. Obviously not all sports, but everybody had a flyer on doors that whole week leading up to it. Like, hey, come meet us at this fair. Like, never played this before. Awesome. We would love to meet you, so they're really trying to actively recruit, more people on campus that haven't played it or haven't tried it.
Great.
From an intramural standpoint, it's probably basketball, soccer, right, Steph?
Yeah.
All right. I know I've certainly seen students walking around with those intramural championship t-shirts, wearing them with pride. So
Very recognizable.
yes, yes, absolutely. Okay, so we're going to move into questions from the audience at this point. We do have a few that have come in. Now, this one was asked about a specific team, but I think the answer is probably more general. How would a student find out, are there limits on the number of people who can be on a particular team, and what those limits might be? How that space is allocated.
To Coach Cloyd's point, that is why it's so critical to have that conversation with the specific coach to the sport you're thinking about participating in, because every sport number is driven really by the coach of that sport and what that coach thinks is the appropriate number. And even most of our coaches, that appropriate number isn't really a hard fixed number. There's kind of a target number, if you will, but certainly sometimes it goes a little lower. Sometimes it goes a little bit higher, depending on a skill level, commitment, position. So there's a variety of reasons that a roster could expand slightly or lessen slightly. And again, every coach is going to keep different numbers of people. I could have a coach coaching any particular sport, and if that coach leaves for any reason and we hire a new coach, that coach may have a different number in mind for that exact same sport. It might just be a different number that coach likes to carry and keep as part of their roster. So I'm not trying to be evasive, but it really
talk to the coach.
It comes back to Patty Cloyd's point about you really should try to establish a path of communication with whoever's coaching the sport you're interested in.
Got a question about how someone would know if we had a particular club or intramural sports team. What would be the best way for them to find out?
There's a good amount of information available on the website under I think look at the campus life tab. There's a section for club sports, there's a section for intramurals, and then student activities or maybe student organizations may have their own page as well.
And if they couldn't find that information, Ben, they certainly could write to any one of us. We all answer our own emails. So if they reached out and wrote myself or Steph specifically to clubs or intramurals, we could get answers to them.
Also, just going to quickly put the links in the chat there. So if people wanted to take a look, they are certainly welcome to. Question about some of those group exercise sessions we talked about earlier. How much of a time commitment are they if a student were to sign up for one?
Yep. So we've pretty much always blocked out an hour slot for each class, but most instructors will tailor their class to work out maybe to be about 45 minutes of activity. Say the total body HIIT class is 12 to 1. You're walking in the door at 12, you're getting started maybe 12:05, 12:10, and then you're wrapped up maybe around 12:50. So that's so faculty and staff can fit it in on their lunch break, and then also just keeping the balance of a higher intensity class. So 45 minutes, 55 minutes or so.
And is that once a week?
Yeah, some classes are twice a week. So we have a yoga that's at noon on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So depending if one day works better for your schedule or not. So some are twice a week, some are only one day per week right now.
And similarly, I think this is a clarification point on something we talked about earlier, is what is the time span during which a student has to decide if they would like to try out for a varsity team?
Again, I'll jump in and Patty can add to it if she would want. But again, that would all be established. You certainly need to step onto it. You need to make an attempt to be on a team at the beginning of that team's season for continuity's sake and for chemistry of a team. But again, that's why it's so critical to communicate out front, so you know exactly the time frame from the coach of that sport, what that window is, so that you don't miss it.
Yeah, and I think that the coach will communicate, whether the tryout is going to be a week long or 2 days long, or, just get the clarity that you need to know when that's going to be decided.
Okay, thank you. So those are all the questions we've sort of built up from the audience. So we're going to move into our fun lightning round. So hopefully each of you can just answer these questions with a quick answer here. First question, what is your favorite wellness, physical education class or athletics experience at Hamilton? John, I'll start with you.
Starting with me, huh?
Put you on the hot seat.
Yeah, that's all right. I don't really have a specific thing. I love teaching in the PE program when it's possible that I can do it. I teach bocce ball. It's the best class you can take here. So I strongly recommend you get into my bocce class. And if that's too much and I burn you out from that, then I would refer you over to yoga as your second class. Take that with Patty. I love going to our athletic contests, as I said at the beginning. I just like being around and working with our student athletes as much as possible.
Steph, how about you?
One athletic experience that always will stick out in my mind was when our men's basketball team went really deep into the NCAA tournament, and so much so that we actually hosted on site multiple levels of the tournament. So that was a really, really unique thing. And that was just seeing the amount of support on this campus. I mean, most of the games are always well attended anyway, but I have never seen that many people jammed into our field house, and the volume and just the environment. It really was one of those like electrifying things, so it was just awesome to see the whole community band together and really just support this team that was just doing so well. But that's across the board. I mean, our teams are all well supported. So that's a highlight in my memories.
Okay, Patty.
I just really enjoy witnessing the growth of our students, whether if it's a class in my team through all 4 of their years, just seeing them come in as little first years and then leaving the hill as grown young adults, and knowing that we've been a part of their lives and supplementing their education. It's just a real joy for me. And also even my students in my yoga classes, from the very first day to the very last day, and what they can do, and what they never thought they could do, and what they're able to do by the end of that. So I love the growth. Also, I personally have experienced a lot of growth from our students in lots of different ways, and pushing me beyond my comfort zone as well. So I really have truly appreciated that.
And Sala?
Yeah, I enjoy like attending a bunch of different sporting events. My favorite one was it was actually an away game that I was watching on a screen in a classroom. We were watching the baseball team last year in their NESCAC championship. It was me and a bunch of my teammates watching. It was really fun.
And Connor?
My favorite experience at my time in Hamilton was my first home meet. Nothing beats home field advantage.
Thank you. And I think this will be our final question, then we'll wrap up. What one piece of advice would you give to our prospective students here tonight who are starting the application process? And we'll go in the same order. So go ahead, John. Put you on the spot again.
That's all right, because that's an easy question for me to answer. I tell every student, fall in love with the school, and then if it's the right school, go for the sport. Don't do it the other way around. Sport is fleeting. The relationships, the experience you'll have for 4 years at your institution is lifelong. It's just, for me personally, I came to Hamilton and my football career was cut short with a neck injury. And thank goodness that I absolutely loved Hamilton. And so I would say to anyone, and I hope it's Hamilton, because that would be your wisest choice. But that being said, pick the school for all the things that you love. Connor has said many times how he has a lot of different things he loves to do. pick the school you love, then go over there for the sport.
All right, Steph.
I would say find the place that will challenge you. You know, I think it's okay to be comfortable, but also look for just maybe an ounce of discomfort, because that's where the good things happen and the good growth and the good challenges will help you grow.
Patty.
Yeah, I think that, students today have a lot of adults involved in their process. And I think that taking the time to listen to yourself and what really is important to you, and really hear that, and I think that we have a very unique learning environment in terms of, faculty with PhDs and some of the highest in their fields, and, understand who's teaching you at these various schools and the environment that you're being taught in, and understand maybe, what's the best way that you learn. Okay. And that can be different in lots of different places. So that's my 2 cents.
Salah.
Yeah, so one piece of advice I would have is, be open and think about if you really fit into this environment at Hamilton. Think if you really want, is that the place you really want to be at for 4 years? Because that's ultimately the decision you're going to be making.
Last but not least, Connor.
I know I've talked a lot about the different things that I do, but I encourage everybody to continue to do the things they care about. Spend your time doing the stuff that you're really passionate about and want to do, because honestly, that's the easiest way to have growth, to have personal growth, and to be able to talk about those things is really important. Talk about what's important to you, and do those things because it's fun and it's nice.
Okay. And with that, we're going to bring this event to an end. So a nice virtual round of applause for our panelists who did such a wonderful job answering these questions this evening. Thank you to all of you for joining us. We hope you know a lot more about how athletics and wellness works at Hamilton and all the resources and programs we have dedicated to that. If you have further questions, please email admission@hamilton.edu and check out hamilton.edu/visit for more options. We'll put both of those in the chat before we completely close out the event. But otherwise, thank you so much and have a great night, and best of luck with the rest of your college search.